Okay, great. So, welcome everyone. This is Senate Institutions. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2026. And we're going to do two items today. One, we're going to take testimony on H559, an act relating to the parole board. And we'll take testimony from the executive director of the Center for Crime Victim Services. And then after that, we're going to have a possible vote on H49, which is an act relating to eligibility of sentenced or detained individuals to obtain a state-issued non-driver identification card, replacement operator's license, or replacement learner's permit. And just in case someone's wondering about that one, the language is in that bill in H549 is duplicated in the T bill, the transportation bill. So it may get deleted in the transportation bill. And so we are going to hopefully vote it out today. So that is what we have. So let us introduce ourselves. Wendy Harrison, I represent the Windham District.
I'm Rob Plunkett, I'm Bennington District.
Joe Major, Windsor District.
We met, so.
I think we've all met, but just Essex District.
John Benson, Orange District.
So Jennifer, thank you for being here. And you probably know the drill, just for the record, your name and your position, and we'd love to hear your testimony.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the committee allowing some time for what probably feels like a last minute request. My name is Jennifer Pullman. I am the Executive Director of the Center for Crime Victim Services. And as some of you may know, the Center for Crime Victim Services is the designated state agency that provides two direct service programs that support victims and survivors. It's the compensation program and the restitution unit. We also provide service that pass through for all federal funds and state and special funds that support victim services programs throughout the state. There's over 60 programs that we support through our granting process and provide advocacy and a statewide voice as well. I'm coming to you as today, though, more as the chair of the Victim Notification Task Force group that was established under Act 64 last year, and you have some documents on your page. The charge of the group was really to look at improving victims' accessibility to information, ensuring that the notification process is trauma-informed, including notifications, communications, informational materials, and expanding the use of automated notification systems. Finally, recommendations for training and resources. I do want to say before I even speak about the small piece we're hoping to offer as an amendment, that I certainly support and appreciate the bill that's in front of you today, H559. Really familiar with the parole board and think anything that can be done to strengthen the bill, to strengthen the board is a huge step forward, and I think it's a great bill. So we certainly support that. But out of the group that we worked really hard, and I know Chair Harrison and Vice Chair Plunkett, being on joint legislative justice oversight, are very familiar with the work that's been happening. But out of that group, we looked at, again, notification across the system. And in looking at notification rights, we noticed a discrepancy. And there is a document on your page that highlights that discrepancy between what's in Title 13 VSA 5305 and Title 28 VSA 507, related to a victim's right to notification and information about parole hearings. What stuck out for us is that in Title 28, that's an automatic right to get that information unless a victim has waived that right in writing. In Title 13, that right only comes into play if the victim has requested that right. So as a committee or as a task force group, we unanimously decided to recommend that the language that's in 28 be imported into Title 13 because currently they're not in conformance. And I do want to underscore the membership of that committee. It was the Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs, the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, the Vermont State Police, obviously the Department of Corrections, 2 victim survivors, and the Vermont Center for Crime Victim Services. And there was all agreement that the language that's in 28 should be imported into Title 13 so that they both are mirrors of each other.
Okay, may I ask you a question? So
Yes, of course.
has Ledge Council, do you know if they have made a sample of this or written this up, or is this language the language that all the language that we have?
Our recommendation was to simply to copy what's in 28 to 13. And I know this seems convoluted as to how it got to you perhaps and why we're at this 11th hour, but as Madam Chair and Mr. Vice Chair know, this was a really long process and painstaking, but we came to an agreement on this piece in particular. And when it was brought up in the House, potentially looking at the miscellaneous judiciary bill as a place it could land, by the time that bill was taken up, there just wasn't time for House Corrections and House Judiciary to take a look at it. So I was told, chase it down in the Senate.
No, and that's definitely the right thing to do. And I'm glad that you did. I just want to be clear. So the 2 paragraphs at the top of the page would be deleted and replaced with the language at the bottom of the page.
Yes.
Just so the 1 and 2 paragraphs would be replaced by the A, B, C, D paragraphs. I just want to be super clear about what we're doing. And that's correct.
So we're not looking to change 28 at all. What we're realizing is that the provisions in 13 were prior to what's in 28. And with 28 really being the governing place that oversees the parole board, it felt like it made a lot more sense in terms of construction to do it that way, but also from a policy perspective, given the distance in time from when somebody's convicted to when they're on parole, given the significance of the event, the trauma, and the changes with release dates, it's really hard for victims to keep track of when they should be asking for that information. So it felt that simply conforming 13 with what is already practiced in 28 would just simply clarify pieces and not send different information or different expectations to victims and survivors.
Okay, so then I know I'm saying it multiple times, but I just want to be super clear. So you recommend the language, it's 28 VSA 507. That's at the bottom of this page, and it starts with at least 30 days prior to a parole eligibility hearing, and it has 4 main sections. That's what, and there's no other changes to this language.
No, we are not recommending any changes to 28507. It would be a change to 135305, and I don't think anybody's quite clear where it should live, whether it's a judiciary issue or institutions issue, but trying to follow the respectful chain of command. So bringing it to your committee first. House Corrections has already heard this, and they're interested to hear what your thoughts are as to where, if you're interested in this minor amendment, and if you are, where you think it should land.
Oh, so that's to be determined.
So I know it seems like a minor amendment, but I could see this getting kind of complicated quickly. Did the task force talk about
I know.
okay, so I guess I'll back up. So the Title 13 provisions require the Department of Corrections to do something. Title 28 provisions doesn't specify who shall do the notification, but it seems like it must be the parole board. Did the task force talk about that at all?
I see that Haley is in the room.
Yeah,
I'm sure
That's
she-
part of the reason why I asked it too, because Haley is in.
But no, the parole board doesn't do the notifications. Those are notifications, and, you know, coming from the conversations that we had in the task force. The victim services unit takes those on themselves and do those in person, or shall I say over the phone. Those are not impersonal notifications. Those are handled by the victim services unit. So
Okay.
it's not adding to the parole board's responsibility.
Okay, but that's the Department of Corrections Victim Service Division. But from my looking at the statute, it does seem like the parole board is supposed to be doing it. So if we don't change this Title 28 statute, it has two entities that are required to give slightly different information. Because the Title 13 is 30 days before a parole board hearing, which presumably could be anything. And Title 28 is prior to a parole eligibility hearing, so it's closer to just one thing. And so I ask all of these questions just to point out this is kind of complicated. We might need to have Ledge Council sort of parse it out to make sure that what the statute, to make sure we know what it wants. And it seems like the recommendation from the task force, I mean, we could ask Ledge Council to just draft language that amends the statutes. So Title 13 reflects Title 28. To ensure notification is opt out rather than opt in. But I think that it seems a little more complicated to me, but this is also my lawyer brain. So, which I know you have as well.
Well, perhaps, and I'm happy to work with, obviously the Department of Corrections and with Ledge Council, perhaps simply looking at 28 VSA 507 sub A and specifying that it's the Department of Corrections, because I know that's current practice, that they handle those notifications. And I do agree that it's not specified as to whether it's the parole board or DOC, but, so I'm looking at line 2, but shall be notified by DOC.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that could be another question. For me, I don't have any problem adding it to our parole bill. It seems germane to it.
Definitely.
As long
Okay,
as we
good.
have the language that everyone wants.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I thank you for being here, and it's no trouble that this came late. We like to be responsive to our constituents. So we'll take this up. The next process or item in this process will be to get Ledge Council's opinion on how to frame it. And what the actual wording would be. So stay in touch with us, please, so that we don't come up with something that you don't like, but please do stay in touch, feel better.
Thank you very much. And if there's more testimony, I just might hang out, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We do not have other testimony. Amy Farr was on the schedule. She stopped in and I met her and we had a good conversation, and she said that you would provide all the information that we needed, and I think you have, and just that she's supportive of this request.
She is on Zoom.
Oh, and she is on Zoom.
She's
So
listening to her.
okay. So if Amy wants to speak, she can.
Thank you. I don't feel like I need to add anything. I'm all set, but thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right. So the other item that we have on the agenda is H 549, which is relating to all of those various IDs. That the corrections folks would work with Department of Transportation and actually Department of Motor Vehicles to provide legal IDs for folks getting out of corrections. We were all supportive of it previously. If we are still supportive, we'll actually we need, I want to have the attorney here when we vote.
We did get an email on compare the House version to the Senate version.
Right,
Showed that the only change was the addition of the word cars.
right, right. But we want to use the House version.
Yeah, the House version has cars.
And that's what we're looking at is the H 549.
Yeah.
You know what, we can just wait till tomorrow and when Hillary's here, when the pledge comes.
2:30.
Or we can, that's a bit of a long time to adjourn, but that's fine with me. Do you want to do that? Do you guys want to come back at 2:30?
I'm gonna go to the other committee or two, but if I'm done, I'll come back. I got another meeting at 3, so.
Okay, all right.
See if she's available earlier.
If she's available at 2:30, right?
Yes, I can check your schedule and see if she's available earlier.
Okay, well, let's adjourn temporarily and we'll either be back right away or at 2:30.